On it. Clark fire away and hits a three. Oh. Left with her left hand. Clark just spins away from Hayes, fades, fires and hits. What a tough two.
Clark.
Clark watches and hits.
Pure jump.
She was supposed to be managing her back. She had just missed a game with stiffness, and every sensible basketball mind was saying, ease her back in, manage her minutes. Do not let her overdo it on the first game back. Cunningham. Hand off Johnson into a triple team. Out to Clark, 3 more. And then the Golden State Valkyries decided to come in a Gamebridge Fieldhouse and take an 8-point lead in the second quarter. And Caitlin Clark looked at that deficit, looked at the building going quiet, and completely lost her mind in the best way possible. Seahull doing it all on that defensive possession. Clark from another stratosphere. 22 points, 9 assists, 4 threes, a technical foul, a flagrant foul, 6 fast break points on 2 attempts, 100% conversion, and a third quarter performance that was so dominant it basically ended Golden State's night before anyone in the building fully understood what was happening. Matchup starting to heat up. Clark on the drive, draws the foul, banks it home, and 1 for Caitlin Clark. Indiana Fever 90. Golden State Valkyries 82. Caitlin Clark is back, and she came back with violence. Clark, beautiful find. Inside for Cunningham, and 1. If you love watching this kind of basketball and want every game broken down exactly like this, subscribe to right now and hit that like button. We cover every detail, so you never miss a thing. Let's start with the context, because it matters. Clark missed the Portland Fire game with back stiffness, and Indiana still won convincingly. A huge sign of team depth. Coming back for this game against Golden State, there were genuine questions about her minutes, her rhythm, and whether Indiana would manage her carefully or just let her run. I've had enough of y'all, so I've had enough. This may have been the night that Caitlin Clark put the league on notice. But the Fever got the win, and Caitlin Clark once again pretty much put this team on her back and rode it to victory. The answer became very clear very quickly. She was not being managed. She was fully unleashed. And by the end of the night, she had also picked up a technical foul and a flagrant foul, which tells you everything you need to know about the competitive intensity she brought to this performance from the opening tip. The first quarter was tight and measured. Indiana 19, Golden State 18. 1-point game going into the second. Nothing alarming, nothing dominant, just 2 professional teams feeling each other out. Clark was finding her rhythm, distributing, reading the defense, getting her legs under her after the time off. And then the second quarter went wrong. Golden State outscored Indiana 26-18. The Valkyries hit shots. Their bench was generating offense. And for a stretch of the second period, they led by 8 points, their biggest lead of the entire game. Golden State's bench would end up scoring 43 points on the night, which is a number that deserves its own moment of appreciation. Tiffany Hayes was heating up. Caitlin Clark off the bench was making shots. The Valkyries had genuine depth and energy, and Indiana's defense was not answering every question. Halftime score, Golden State leading. The crowd had gone quiet. The injury return narrative that felt so positive heading into the game suddenly had a more complicated storyline. Clark was on the floor, but Golden State had momentum, and Indiana needed something to shift the game entirely. What happened in the third quarter was not a shift. It was a detonation. She's good. Caitlin Clark naturally changes the space on the floor. Pat. You have to come. Indiana scored 29 points in the third quarter. Golden State scored 17. A 12-point swing in a single quarter that took the game from uncomfortable to completely controlled. And Caitlin Clark was the reason almost every single possession went the way it did. She was in full goldfish mode in that third quarter. The mode everyone who watched her at her peak in 24 recognizes immediately. Every possession, its own complete moment.
No getting mistakes. No hesitation.
Just reading and reacting and making the right play at full speed. She was pushing the pace in transition and converting every fast break opportunity she touched. 6 fast break points on 2 attempts. 100%. She was getting into the paint and drawing fouls before Golden State's defense could set. She was hitting threes with defenders barely getting a hand near the ball. She was finding cutters hitting Boston in the post. creating chaos off the dribble that Golden State simply could not contain. Starting a game out relatively fast, and then in the second quarter, we give up a lead. Caitlin Clark and the Fever showed out in the third quarter with a 29-17 showing. The big three showed up. Aaliyah Boston points on 8 of 15. 16 boards, 3 blocks. 29-17. That is what a healthy, locked-in, playing on her own terms Caitlin Clark does to a defense that came in believing they could manage her. They cannot manage her. Nobody can manage her when she is in this mode. The third quarter last night was a reminder of that to the entire league. Let's break down Clark's full night properly, because it deserves the specific attention. 22 points, 7 of 15 from the field, 47%. 4 of 9 from 3, 44%. 4 of 5 from the free throw line, 9 assists, 2 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block, 8 fouls drawn, 6 fast break points on 2 attempts. The three-point number is the one that keeps growing in importance. 4 of 9 from 3, 44%. Through the last 3 games, she's been hitting threes at a consistent and elite rate. Coming off the back injury, first game back, still going 4 of 9 from distance. That is a player whose shot is fully restored and whose confidence from that range is at the highest it has been in the 26 season. When she's hitting at 44% from 3 while also being a genuine downhill driving threat, you simply cannot build a successful defensive scheme against her. You cannot sag off her.
You cannot switch everything.
You cannot load up on the drive. Every choice of defense makes open something else. The 9 assists continue to pattern that is becoming the defining characteristic of her 26 season. Her playmaking is operating at a level that is genuinely unprecedented for this league. She sees passes that nobody else sees, delivers them at speeds that defensive rotations cannot match, and does it consistently enough that her teammates have started timing their cuts to her vision rather than to the play call. 22 assists in Indiana's last 2 games combined. That is a facilitator at the absolute peak of her powers. Now, the 6 turnovers need to be acknowledged. 6 is too many, and Clark has had a turnover problem throughout the season. She's playing loose, playing fast, trusting her instincts, and occasionally paying the price with a pass that does not find its target or a dribble that gets stripped. The turnovers are the one real blemish on her recent performances, and if Indiana meets genuinely elite competition, New York Liberty on the upcoming schedule, those turnovers will be punished. It is the one area where the instinct over calculation style costs something real. The technical foul and flagrant foul are worth discussing because they're part of who Caitlin Clark is as a competitor, and they should not be sanitized out of the narrative.
She got heated last night.
She competed at intensity level that crossed official lines twice during the game. Whether those calls were fully warranted is debatable. When you watch Clark play, some of the contact she takes and the way she navigates physical defense genuinely invites a reaction. But the competitive fire that generates those moments is also the same fire that produces 29 third-quarter points and 6 fast break conversions on 2 attempts. You cannot separate the intensity from the production. She plays hot and she plays brilliant, and those 2 things exist in the same body in the same game. The important thing is that neither incident derailed her. She picked up a tech. She moved on. She kept making plays. That is the goldfish mentality operating at its best. Something negative happened, and it did not matter on the next possession. She was already thinking about the next play before the discussion was over. Aaliyah Boston might have had the most quiet 16 rebounds I've ever seen in a game. I looked up at the box score and was like, that's the quietest 16 rebounds I have possibly ever seen. Aaliyah Boston, back-to-back double-doubles, 2 games in a row of extraordinary production, and we would stop burying this in the footnotes. Here is Mitchell. Feeds inside. Boston faces spins. Pretty footwork. Points, 16 rebounds, 8 of 15 from the field, 53% 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 4 offensive rebounds, 12 defensive rebounds, plus 15 on the floor, 16 rebounds, back-to-back games with double-digit rebounds. Boston is dominating the glass in a way that is changing Indiana's entire second-chance equation. 4 offensive rebounds last night generated 5 second-chance points and changed multiple possessions from dead ends into scoring opportunities. She is also shooting efficiently. 53% from the field in a game where Golden State was not giving her anything easy. Every post catch was contested. Every catch and finish required physicality through contact, and she converted at 53% anyway. Here is the number that really tells the story. Mitchell on the attack, gets to the rim, but couldn't finish. Tip out Hull. Boston's open, and she hits a three. Her offensive rating last night was 122.7. Her defensive rating was 84.7. The difference between those two numbers, 38 points per 100 possessions, is what an elite two-way impact player looks like. When Boston is on the floor, Indiana is significantly better on both ends simultaneously. She has now had back-to-back genuine star-level performances, and the conversation about whether this Indiana team has real depth beyond Clark can be officially retired. They have two players capable of carrying games, and right now both of them are playing some of the best basketball of their careers simultaneously. Kelsey Mitchell's contribution last night was built almost entirely at the free throw line, and it was exactly what Indiana needed from her. 19 points on 4 of 10 from the field, 40%, which is below what Indiana need from her as a primary scoring option, but 11 of 11 from the free throw line. Perfect. Every single trip to the line converted. She drew 5 fouls, which tells you she was attacking and forcing contact even when the shots were not falling from the field. The 3 assists to 1 turnover ratio is the quiet highlight of Mitchell's performance. An assist-to-turnover ratio of 3-to-1 from a player who has historically been criticized for not making enough play-making decisions is a sign of real growth. She was reading double teams, she was reading help rotations, and she was making the right pass instead of forcing the contested shot. 11 free throws at 100% plus 3 assists in a game Indiana won by 8 is a night where Mitchell did everything her team needed even when her primary skill was not operating at full efficiency. Sophie Cunningham contributed 11 points off the bench on 4 of 8 shooting with 2 threes. She was active, she was physical, and she gave Indiana Real's scoring punch from the second unit in a game where Golden State's bench was generating 43 points on the other end. Indiana's bench scored in total, a significant gap compared to Golden State's bench production. And Cunningham was the main reason that number was not worse. For Golden State, Tiffany Hayes had 19 points on 7 of 13 shooting with 2 of 2 from 3 and a perfect 3 of 3 from the line. She was their most efficient scorer, and in the second quarter specifically, she was the player pushing the Valkyries' run. Caitlin Chunald off the bench gave Golden State 18 points on 7 of 11 from the field, 64%, and she hit both her three-point attempts. Veronica Burton added 17 points by drawing 6 fouls and going 7 of 8 from the line. Golden State's 43 bench points is a genuinely impressive number, and in a different game against a less complete opponent, those contributions might have been enough. But Indiana's biggest lead reached 10 points, and the Valkyries never found a consistent answer for what Clark and Boston were doing simultaneously. 37% from the field as a team was not good enough, and while the bench was excellent, the starters simply did not perform at the level required to compete with a fully healthy Indiana roster. Here is the big picture after 6 games in 26. Indiana Fever are 5-2. Their 2 losses were both overtime heartbreakers decided in the final possessions. Their 5 wins have been increasingly dominant performances where the team's identity is becoming clearer and more dangerous with every game. 5 wins from 6 games. Caitlin Clark shooting 44% from 3 on her return from injury. Aaliyah Boston with back-to-back double-doubles. Kelsey Mitchell drawing fouls at an elite rate. The system is working. The players are healthy, and with the New York Liberty coming up on the schedule, the first genuinely elite opponent of Indiana's season. The real test of what this team is made of is exactly 1 week
away.
Last night against Golden State was not a masterpiece. There were 19 turnovers. The second quarter almost gave the game away. The defense allowed 43 bench points from a team that is not supposed to generate that kind of production. But here is what Indiana showed. They got punched in the second quarter, trailed by 8, and responded with 29 points in the third quarter. They did not panic. They did not go small or conservative. They attacked. Clark led the charge. Boston dominated the glass. Mitchell got to the line and converted everything. The team's response to adversity in the third quarter was the most encouraging sign of the entire night. Not the final score, not the individual stat lines, but the collective refusal to let a deficit become a defeat. That is a championship quality. Indiana is not there yet, but the foundation is being built one quarter at a time. And right now, Caitlin Clark is back, fully healthy, hitting 44% from three, picking up technicals because she cares too much to play any other way, and dropping 9 assists a night like it is routine. 5 and music too. The Liberty are next. And this Indiana team is ready to find out exactly where they stand.